Mr.
Loud.
Chesterton,
Down this way, Ray.
since you are one of the foremost crusaders in the modern world of letters, we wish to adopt you into the humble ranks of the Holy Cross Crusaders.
I have to thank you for this very great honor, and I do so with all my heart. I can only say that I am not much of a crusader, but at least I am not a Mohammedan. And many people will testify to the fact. I should like to take this opportunity of thanking you all for your enormous kindness, and especially Father Earls for having received me so hospitably today.
The digital Servile state on the peculiar process of Enshittification. Being a recently discovered manuscript wherein G.K. Chesterton prophetically addresses the digital age, publishers note the following manuscript was discovered in a sealed envelope marked to be opened when men have invented a word crude enough to describe the process of making everything worse by pretending to make it better. The timing seems appropriate. Forward on the theology of making things worse is a peculiar achievement of our modern age that we have finally invented a word sufficiently honest to describe the process by which things become worse through improvement. This word, enshittification, would have scandalized my Victorian and delighted my medieval ancestor, who knew of that things will indeed become shit, and said so with admirable faith. The word itself represents what might be called the ultimate victory of truth over public relations. When all other words have been corrupted by marketing, that peculiar modern art of making lies sound true by making them sound scientific. Only the cruder became their meaning. A spade may no longer be called a spade, but shit thankfully remains shit. Consider the remarkable theology of this process. Things begin by serving man, proceed to serving themselves, and end by serving up man as the females at their feast of profit. It is rather like a butler who begins by serving dinner, proceeds to eating dinner himself, and ends by serving you for dinner. This is what they call disruption, though it bears a striking resemblance to what we used to call destruction, only with better marketing. Chapter 1. The Great Enshittification. The process of enshittification follows what might be called the universal law of digital entropy. All platforms tend towards shit, just as all the systems tend towards each other. But there is something uniquely modern in the precision with which this degradation is achieved. It is not mere decay, but decay with a business model. Consider the curious trajectory. First, they create something useful. This is the bait. Then, they make it essential. This is the trap. Finally, they make it terrible. This is the profit. The remarkable thing is not that this happens, but that we keep acting surprised when it does, when it's not. It's not very shocked each time he discovers that his butler has been eating his dinner. But perhaps the most ingenious aspect of this process is its ability to make degradation feel like upgrade. Each step toward worse is presented as a step toward better, rather like a man being led down a staircase who is continuously congratulated on his upward progress. Chapter 2 on the curious art of digital decay. The medieval alchemists sought to turn lead into gold. Our modern digital alchemists have achieved something far more remarkable. They have discovered how to turn gold into lead while convincing everyone that they are still making gold. This is what they call optimization, though it might more honestly be called definition. Consider the social networks. Those curious modern institutions that began by connecting people, proceeded to collecting people, and ended by converting to products. They have achieved what might be called the perfect reversal. Starting as tools for human communication, they have ended as humans being tools for their communication. Chapter 3. The Servile state goes digital. What might find Hilaire Belloc warned about in the Servile state has not only come to pass, but has done so with a precision and pervasiveness that would make the old industrialists blush with envy. The digital platforms have achieved what the factory owners could only dream of. They have made servitude, voluntary surveillance, entertaining. The curious thing about this new servility is that it comes not through change, but through convenience, not through force, but through features, not through oppression, but through optimization. We have created what might be called the first form of slavery that people feel up to enter, rather like a man eagerly awaiting his turn to be handcuffed. Chapter 4, on the mathematics of making things worse. The process of enshittification follows what mathematicians might call a predictable curve. It begins with excellence, proceeds to adequacy, and arrives at awfulness with the precision of a train following its schedule. The remarkable thing is not that this happens, but that it happens with a mathematical certainty that one might set one's watch by. Consider the curious fact that every digital service seems to follow this same trajectory, rather like planets following their orbits. They begin by orbiting around the user's needs, proceed to orbiting around their own needs, and end by expecting the user to orbit around them. This is what they call evolving the business model, though it might more honestly be called revolving the business model, for it always comes full circle to the same end. Chapter 5, The Perfect Circle of Digital Decay. There is something almost medieval in the precision with which digital platforms follow the cycle of enshittification. Like the medieval wheel of fortune, they turn with inexorable certainty from good to bad, from useful to useless, from service to servitude. But unlike the medieval wheel, which at least had the honesty to acknowledge its circular nature, our modern platforms is that they are moving in a straight line called progress. Consider the remarkable, dichotomization, that curious process by which something useful becomes something useless while maintaining the appearance of usefulness. It is rather like a wine that gradually turns to water while intoxicated is becoming better wine. Chapter 6 on the curious property of digital gravity. Just as physical objects fall toward the earth, digital platforms fall on enshittification. This might be called the universal law of digital gravity, a force as constant and predictable as Newton's own. The only difference is that while physical objects fall down, digital platforms fall up in their metrics, up in their valuations, up in their user numbers, while simultaneously falling down in their actual utility. The curious thing about this digital gravity is that it acts with perfect democracy, affecting all platforms equally regardless of their initial quality or intentions. The best platform and the worst platform were given enough time to arrive at the same destination, rather like a golden chalice in a clay or both ending up as swords. Chapter 7, The Economics of Getting Worse. There is something almost admirable in the precision with which digital platforms have monetized their own degradation. They have achieved what might be called the perfect business model, making things worse while charging more for the worsening. It is rather like a restaurant that gradually reduces the size of its portions while increasing its prices, and calls this enhancing the dining experience. The remarkable thing is not that this happens, but that it happens with such predictable regularity that one might write a scientific paper retroactively, but one says the paper itself would gradually become worse while claiming to become better. Epilogue on the hope found in honest words. Perhaps the greatest hope in our age of digital decay lies in the very word quoting Dr. invented to describe it. For in calling it enshittification, that magnificently honest word, we have achieved what might be called the first step towards salvation, calling things by their true names. The medieval peasant, unlike the modern platform user, had the advantage of being able to call shit shit. We have, through the invention of this word, recovered something of that medieval clarity. And in this recovery lies what might be called the first principle of resistance, the refusal to call decay improvement, or servitude freedom, or scapegoat. For in the end, the process of enshittification can only succeed to the extent that we accept its euphemisms, believe its promises, and mistake its decay for progress. The moment we begin to call things by their true names, to call shit shit, decay decay, and servitude servitude, with a long journey back toward digital dignity. And so, dear reader of the future, who is my reader of the present, I leave you with this thought. The digital age, like all ages, will pass. The question is not whether it will end, but whether we will have the honesty to describe its passing accurately. For in the accurate description of decay lies the first seed of renewal. G.K. Chesterton, recently discovered manuscript, dated paradoxically from both 1912 and 2024.